Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for episode 4 of Blabbering through Birthright, the series where I attempt to sift through names, places, peoples, and things and figure out what's going on in the campaign. All jokes aside though, I feel like now at episode 4 I kind of have my feet under me a little bit more. There's still way too many names of provinces that I don't know because there's countries I don't know, there's provinces I don't know, pretty sure there's still people I don't know, but I feel like we're starting to get there. So for this session there were 4 players. Again, we had Roz, Ranulfer, Brindis, and Valkyrie. One thing that I found really interesting, at least since I've started playing, is we've like never had more than 4 players at the table. Whereas there were definitely sessions during Dark Sun where there was like 7 of us. Were there ever 7 of us? Definitely 6 of us. So it's interesting because with smaller parties, you need to think a little bit harder. Especially because right now we are in the province of Lofkerdik and we are about to siege a keep or something. And without Jan being there, and Jan is like a tank, we need to think about our squishy wizard and witch and, you know, the other ones, the cleric and the bounty hunter. I don't know what class she is. So, like I said, Jan is not there. He is taken ill, so he is just camped out in a tent nearby, probably puking a lot. That's what I assume. By ill, he probably just got too drunk. So the keep is on the top of a hill and we are trying to figure out the best way to approach it. So one, we could be like, hey look, we have the queen, and they might be like, hey sweet, it's the queen, let's take her hostage. Second option, we could be like, we're traveling nomads, please give us somewhere to stay from this weather. And then we kind of take a third option, which is very similar to that, please let us stay, is we're traveling nomads for Eric, please let us in, we'll give you food and we'll give you healing. So they do let us in and then they're like shaking us down for our food, which is not cool. And basically they're like, listen, if you want to stay here for the night, you need to give us stuff. So we want your weapons, we want your food, blah, 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 blah. Which, no, just no. We kind of ask them what's going on because we can see that there's like scaffolding and stuff and they are digging into the ground, but they're like, forget about that, give us your food. So we give them a little bit of food and then Roz puts one of them to sleep. And somehow we convince them that he has narcophilia, which don't look that up because if you look that up, that's no, you don't want to know. But anyways, basically a condition that causes you to just suddenly fall asleep. And it's pretty convincing to the point that these people are like, did it come from below? Did it come from the pit we're digging? So we're like, we need to talk to your leader. We need to talk about this great malady that's going to come across you guys. So some of them go up to go check on Farlov, who's leader, and bring him down. We take this guy over and like, oh, he's gonna wake up soon. What are we gonna do? And we just tie him up and throw him in a hay pile. And then Farlov comes down, so he's looking pretty beefy. He's got the 3 guys that went up with him, so that's 4. There's the guy that we knocked out, he's not an issue. There's another guy that's just eating all the rations that we brought. And then there's probably like another 8 armed guards and 8 unarmed guards. So like it's something like 23 people that we're gonna have to beat up. But wait, we have a very charismatic wizard in Roz, and Roz somehow convinces Farlov with a super awesome roll that narcophilia is a thing and that the keep is inflicted with it, and so we need to take precaution and we need to, as priests of Eric, go through the entire keep and make sure that all is well. So we convince him to lock up everybody else. The ones that have been yawning might already be afflicted, so we put them in one place, and the ones that appear to be healthy we put in another place. Then we ask him to show us to his room, and so he's like, yeah, look around, and we beat the crap out of him and kill him. And then we kind of pilfer through his stuff and we find out that what they're digging into in the ground is like a hallway that's going to old dwarven treasure, which we're super interested in, so we need to clear out this keep. So we take his body down, the illusionary wizard performs some magic to be like, oh look, he succumbed to the illness, you all need to leave. So we convince the healthy ones that they're good, they need to leave now, and Ranulfer had some leftover dwale oil that the priests of Eric were giving out for like the plague that's in Hollingholm. So he gives them that, says, you know, it's not enough, but it'll help you. They're completely deceived, and then we send the other ones out, they're completely deceived. So we managed to take this keep with only 1 fight. which was super impressive. And so we locked the gate behind them so nobody could get back in, and now it's like, let's go check out this hole in the ground. And so we climb down the scaffolding into the pit, and we immediately see a dead person on a pit trap, like, or a spiky tile. And we're like, all right, we should probably check to see if there's more of that, because I guess dwarves are like super into trapping things. So we go through and like there are so many tiles that are trapped, but because we're testing them, all is well. We see them all, we set them off, and we continue on. And then we get down to like the very end of this hall. Like they gotten so far with their torches, but we had to like take a torch and like keep going. And right at the very end, there's these huge ornate doors. They're intricately carved because it's dwarven work, so obviously. And right in front of them is basically a large suit of armor. Doesn't look like there's anyone in it. Brindis is like, my magic only lasts for 8 hours. It's probably been down here for longer than 8 hours. It's fine. If it's magic, it's fine. Valkyrie decides to poke like up under where the plate is to see if there's anything under it. And in good news, there isn't, but in bad news, she's interacted with it. So now it's gonna try to kill us. He's a helmed horde, and let me tell you, he is not an enjoyable fight. He's immune to force damage, so like, it ain't going well. It's rough, but we finally managed to destroy him, and then now that he's out of the way, we can open up those gates. So we get the gates open, they weren't trapped, we did check, and we find some gems and some coins and a lot of fun stuff, and like this weird chime thing. And so Roz sits with it and discovers that it is a chime of opening, which will basically let you open anything that's locked or that won't open within like 120 feet. So that could be super helpful. So that's a nice magic item to have in our pocket. And we also come across an ancient dwarven map of like elven occupied territory, and it kind of has like a little bit of information about dragons. So that's a thing that maybe we're gonna need to deal with at some point. But not right now, because we have other stuff to do, because there still is that Orog base that we need to look into. So once we finish down in the hole, we pop back up, we lock up the keep because we don't want anybody else to get in. Also, we've left a giant pit. It's an insurance liability issue. And then we start to head to Nyalbi in the province of Hearvold. These names though. And like, as we're on our way, it just starts to snow. Like, it is just too early in the season for this, but it's happening. So when we get to Nyalbi, like a day later, there's this light snow on the ground, and we can see that the wall that I've talked about before that like encompasses the entire country is mostly in disarray here. And which could be a problem because then people can get in. But there is a huge concentration of seers in this town, so they're like, you know, the seers can see, and we go meet with the Jarl, and this is the Jarl from where the Orogs, the 3 of them, were originally sent to us from. And he's like, oh, it's so great to see you, thanks for dealing with my Orog issue. Also, we're safe, it's fine, it's cool, we don't need this wall because it's Eric's will. Maybe it is, but it seems unlikely because there is a magic source in this province that is definitely being used. So we think that it's likely that the Royal Seer is using it, but later Roz is chatting with him as they're exchanging spells, and he's like, oh no, I'm not using this magic source. So now that's maybe something we need to deal with, because this town is actually sacrificing someone every year to keep themselves safe because it's Eric's will. So maybe they're not sacrificing this person to Eric, but maybe they're sacrificing this person to whoever's using this source. So Roz gets a little bit of information from the Royal Seer about who he thinks it might be, and then that's something to look into probably before we leave the area. But for all intents and purposes, the Jarl is like, we are good, we sacrifice, everybody's cool, we don't have to worry about it. Yeah, we know there's an Orog base nearby, but they won't bother us. So one thing that I learned this session is apparently everybody born in Stjordvik has a doom. So Brindis is like, you know what, there's a ton of seers here, I'm gonna go find out my doom. So she goes and she pays for it and she gets her doom read, I guess. Is that how it gets done? And basically her doom is that she's going to be either very lucky or extremely unlucky. So basically everything's gonna go amazing or everything is going to go like cripplingly bad. Like the keep might fall down around you, or you know, you might accidentally knock a brick and suddenly you're being invaded by an army. So that's a great doom to have. Renalfr's like, hey, this is great. So he goes to it. He strikes out because it's like kind of a bell curve kind of situation. But Brindis has a fate point, which we kind of discussed earlier, where, you know, if your belief changes, you get a fate point. So she's like, I am willing to spend this fate point. so that you can actually get your doom. And so Renalfer goes again, and Renalfer's fate is that he has a much greater purpose, and basically he will not die until his greater purpose is fulfilled. The downside of that is that he's gonna have visions and stuff. He's always going to be like, what's my purpose? What am I going to do? So there's his doom. So we'll see how that plays, and I think it works out really well with the character because he's super into Eric. So I'm sure those will be tied together. Val goes as well, and she has the same luck that Renalfer has the first time, in which she gets nothing, but she has a fate point, so she spends that, and then she gets her doom. And it's actually really funny because when the player playing Renalfer rolled, he rolled 2 10s on D10s. And then when the player playing Valkyrie rolled, she rolled 2 1s on D10. So they're like complete opposite side of the spectrum. And then the doom that Val ended up with after spending her fate point was that she has an ancient enemy. Like, it could be ancestral, like way back from the end of time, but she has an extremely powerful enemy that is coming for her. That seems like not positive at all. That just seems terrible. So because we do have like a week of downtime here, Brindis is like, we should spend a week in the life of Nealbians. Are they Nealbians? Let's say they're Nealbians. And so she agrees to take petitioners, which is kind of a much better thing than Jan taking petitioners, because we saw how that happened last time. And basically, it's just a whole bunch of gifts. All the petitioners are like, the queen is here. So they're like, here's this really nice dress. Here's this chicken, here's like saddlebags, all that kind of stuff. And then a raven shows up from Arvold, and Arvold was the place that we had been before we took the keep, where the Jarl hated Brindis and where Jan didn't help the situation. Basically, the Jarl says, listen, Jan came in, he took my petitioners, and he professionally and personally embarrassed me. I need something so that my people will still respect me. Please don't make us pay the extra taxes. And Brindis is like, I can't just do that favor, sorry, pay the taxes. But also in the letter that she sent, she's like, sorry, you're gonna have to pay taxes, but she's like, but we'll do something so that the people will respect your role as Jarl. So I guess throw a party. And then the last petitioner that comes in is Bran from Freemensky, which is where they've got like the council, like the Democratic Council that they're trying to set up there. And he's like, listen, I heard that you're going to sell food to the Ryuvikians? Ryuvik? That's the Ryuvikians. Ryuvikians. Such a stupid name, and they're bandits, they'd hate it. And Bran's like, I can't, even with our surplus food, I can't bring myself to sell food to them because they have attacked us pretty recently. And Brindis is like, yeah, I totally get it, that's totally fine. And Bran's like, thank you for being such a rational and fair and reasonable ruler. And with that, we ended the session. So instead of starting off the session with petitioners, we ended it with petitioners. And we are currently in Nialbi. I still think we need to check out that Orog base to see what's going on there, but Roz definitely wants to go figure out this wizard or seer or whoever it is that is using the source from this province, and see if it's being used for nefarious means or if it is really just as altruistic as protecting Nialbi. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe so you will know when the next one is coming out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.